Then about mainstream film. She says that normally women appear and stop the narrative. The protagonist and the spectator can join in their look on the female form, whereas man itself is the one who really gets the narrative going and acts. So the normal classic diegesis opens with the woman as object of the gaze of both protagonist and the spectator. The protagonist then falls in love and tames the female, powerful, beautiful, sexualized figure. So this also plays upon the concept of woman as a threat, as Freud had already explained. Especially in film noir or in films from Hitchcock, such as Vertigo, the female form is a mystery, but it is also a threat that has to be either devaluated and punished or saved. On the other hand, there's the complete negation of the threat of the women, which then turns women into a fetish and results sort of in something like the star cult of Hollywood. This can be seen in the films of Sternberg, as he idealizes, for instance, the figure of Marlene Dietrich. Mulway then acknowledges the need of deconstruction of these visual pleasures. Mainstream film mainly concentrates on the intradiegetic looks and on the narcissistic pleasure of identification with the protagonist. What she wants to bring forward in her film and art is really a conscience of a present camera, and thus make the spectator himself conscious of the process of looking. So these purposes really break with the traditional cinema and promote sort of another cinema that is really like an alternative stream to that. So what happened in these 30 years, may we ask? I now want to introduce the work of Ursula Beeman, who created a new sort of film or a new sort of working with these concepts, which is called the video essay. The form is really interesting because it sort of takes upon Laura Mulway's concepts and makes them material. So it is a combination of course, essay and video. So there is the essayistic voice, which is a subjective eye, but also a conscient onlooker on the images which she herself produces. So while she talks, she exposes the image as well as constructed by herself. The video she uses is an overlap between writing and image, and the editing of the images is associative. It is not a sort of film that develops chronologically, but rather one that tries to organize a complex reality rather than documenting it as a sort of cause and effect thing. Her work, Writing Desire, in 2000, really analyzes how the consumption of women on screen, as described by Mulway already, is materialized into the consumption of materiality of women. She focuses on the economy of desire in the internet. Here, Eastern women, in order to become part of the Western world, adapt themselves to the traditional image and representation of women in Western mainstream culture, and see their body as a product and possibility to enter Western world. She says the connection between the middle-class university professor in Mexico, who, through the opportunities of cyberspace, learns to forget her left politics and ends up marrying a US Marine man, and the Eastern European or Asian women who freely enter into new forms of arranged marriages with Western men, can be really seen as a result of this kind of representations in mainstream Western culture. Writing Desire then suggests that women are ultimately good at performing the fetishized object and the commodity which they have become in Western mainstream culture. So women are excluded from the West and try to come back into into a world where they think they will be better off, and do this through selling their image as it was represented through traditional values of mainstream film. I think these kind of thoughts are really important, and I think the concept of the gaze is not only one that has to be attributed to women or a man looking at a woman. It is also a white looking at a black person. It is a European looking at Chinese people. We all have our eyes and our perspectives. What we have to do is we have to be conscious of those eyes, and we have to think of the values that these perspectives represent, and ask every time we look in what perspective we are looking. And yes, this is sort of the message that I wanted to give you today. Thank you.
And just about an hour ago, I got you fired.
What? What did you do that for?
I figured that being my wife would take up all of your time.
Even if I wanted to say no, I couldn't. You're not supposed to say no to a detective.
I figured that, too.